August 28, 1990. In Plainfield, Illinois, families finished lunch as warnings had gone ignored for days. Suddenly, a violent tornado formed, rain-wrapped, invisible, and yet never caught on camera. The sirens that could have saved lives never sounded. This is America's most dangerous tornado nobody filmed, where a silent failure, not just a storm, turned an ordinary afternoon into a disaster. How did every warning system fail at the moment it mattered most? At 2 p.m. on August 28, 1990, the Storm Prediction Center issued a tornado watch for northern Illinois. This was the fourth afternoon in a row the region fell under official alert, and for many the warnings had become background noise. The sky over Will County pressed down with heavy humidity, but routines carried on. By 3 o'clock, radar operators at the National Weather Service in Rosemont began to see signs that set this storm apart. The WSR-74 radar showed organized rotation in a supercell tracking southeast at nearly 50 miles per hour, fast enough to shrink response windows to a matter of minutes. High above, winds screamed at 80 knots, fueling the kind of wind shear that can turn a thunderstorm into something far more dangerous. Meteorologist Dan Miller sat in front of the radar, watching as the echoes tightened. At 3:20 p.m., a pronounced hook echo and a strong velocity couplet appeared. Classic signatures of a tornado forming. Spotters in DeKalb County reported a wall cloud descending beneath the storm base, confirming what the screens already suggested. The circulation was tightening, and the storm was now aimed at the most populated suburbs southwest of Chicago. With the supercell racing forward, the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning for Will County at 3:25 p.m. The warning went out over NOAA weather radio and local media, but the time between detection and impact had collapsed. The tornado was only 4 minutes away from touching down near Plainfield, hidden inside a curtain of rain. Dan Miller's voice cut through static on the NOAA broadcast with an urgent call to take cover immediately, and he warned of a large, dangerous tornado approaching Plainfield. For those tuned in, the urgency was unmistakable. But coverage of NOAA radio in 1990 was limited. Many homes lacked a receiver, and signals were often weak in basements. In control rooms and dispatch centers across the region, the warning set off a scramble. Nearby towns moved quickly to activate outdoor sirens, buying residents precious extra minutes to seek shelter. In the core of Will County, the final link in the chain depended on a single manual console. As the seconds ticked by, the storm advanced at highway speed, shrinking the margin from minutes to seconds for anyone not already sheltered. The countdown on radar was relentless. At 3:29 p.m., the tornado would reach Plainfield, unseen and almost unheard, except for the warnings broadcast over radio and television. The system had detected and warned, but for thousands on the ground, the gap between signal and survival was vanishingly small. In Oswego, the tornado warning arrived just before 3:25 p.m. The message moved quickly from meteorologists to local officials, and within moments, the outdoor sirens blared across the town. The sound was sharp and unmistakable, echoing through humid streets, schoolyards, and backyards. In homes and businesses, people paused mid-conversation or mid-task, the meaning of the siren instantly clear. Children were called inside from driveways and playgrounds. Parents ushered their families to basements, gathering pets and flashlights as they went. In some houses, the ritual unfolded with practiced calm, windows checked, doors locked, radios tuned to weather updates. For others, the urgency was new, the siren's wail a jolt that sent hearts racing. Yet across Oswego, the response was swift and nearly universal. The community had drilled for this moment, and when the warning came, the routine took over. Basements filled with neighbors and relatives, some clutching transistor radios, others simply waiting in silence as the sky outside turned an unnatural shade of green. The storm skirted Oswego, passing to the south and east. The town was spared, but the siren's warning had served its purpose, a brief, decisive interruption that sent hundreds underground, buying precious minutes that could have meant the difference between safety and disaster. Joliet, just a short drive away, faced the same threat. The tornado warning reached dispatchers nearly at the same time as in Oswego, but in Joliet, the siren system required a manual trigger, a process that, even at its most efficient, introduced a delay. Dispatchers moved quickly, but 90 seconds passed before the sirens began to sound. In those 90 seconds, the city held its breath. Some residents, already uneasy as the storm approached, watched the sky or checked television and radio for updates. Others hesitated, uncertain whether to trust the warning or wait for confirmation. When the sirens finally sounded, the response was immediate. People rushed to basements and interior rooms, grabbing loved ones and essentials. The delay was short, but it mattered. In those moments, the storm's path shifted and intensified. Emergency rooms in Joliet later reported only minor injuries, and most neighborhoods escaped the worst of the damage. But the 90-second gap between warning and siren activation left a mark, a reminder that every second counts when disaster is measured in minutes. The contrast between Oswego and Joliet was subtle but significant. Both towns received timely warnings. Both had siren systems ready to alert the public. But in Oswego, the sirens sounded almost instantly, prompting a rapid, coordinated response. In Joliet, a brief delay introduced uncertainty and hesitation. The outcome in both cases was shaped by the speed and reliability of last-mile activation. Where the chain held, the system worked. Sirens reached people in time and lives were protected. These moments of action and reaction reveal how a single link, activation, can decide the fate of an entire community, setting the stage for what would unfold just a few miles away. Blocks that once held homes and families were reduced to open lots, scattered with debris and silence. The Plainfield Fire Department moved in quickly, searching for survivors among the ruins. Assistant Fire Chief John Cornicello directed teams to the damaged United Auto Workers Hall, one of the few places with enough clear space to serve as a triage center. Here, first responders worked under the open sky, sorting the injured by urgency, using makeshift supplies and marking homes as they were searched. The scale of need outstripped the resources on hand. Mutual aid crews from surrounding towns arrived through the evening, joining in the search for those trapped or missing as daylight faded. At Silver Cross Hospital in Joliet, Dr. Thomas Decker faced a surge unlike anything the staff had seen. Within 3 hours, nearly 350 patients arrived, some carried in by neighbors, others transported by emergency vehicles that picked their way through blocked roads. Hallways and waiting areas became treatment spaces as doctors and nurses improvised to keep up. The hospital's capacity stretched far past its limits, but the focus remained on stabilizing injuries and saving lives as the stream of wounded continued into the night. The morning after the storm, National Weather Service surveyors walked a landscape stripped bare of its familiar features. Where neighborhoods once stood, the ground was scoured down to bare earth, grass torn away as if scraped by a giant blade. Mature trees lining streets and schoolyards were reduced to splintered trunks, their bark peeled off in wide strips and scattered blocks away. On the western edge of Plainfield, a vehicle weighing several tons had been hurled 1,200 feet from its original spot, landing twisted and unrecognizable in an open field. The tornado's path through the heart of the community measured nearly 400 yards wide at its most destructive point, with homes swept completely from their foundations and debris carried for miles. Damage experts compared the scene to the aftermath of a bomb blast, but the patterns told a different story, one of wind, not fire. The evidence on the ground left no doubt about the storm's intensity. Survey teams documented structural failures in well-built houses, metal frames bent and twisted, and entire blocks erased. 29 people died within a 4-mile stretch, making this the deadliest single tornado in the United States since 1967. The scale and nature of the destruction met every criterion for the highest rating on the Fujita scale. The official classification was F5, reserved only for the most violent tornadoes ever recorded. No warning system is stronger than its weakest link. Today, nearly every tornado siren in America relies on automation and redundancy, because a single missed signal can mean dozens of lives. As storms grow more unpredictable, our commitment to fail-safe alerts remains the last line between chaos and survival.